middle of spring right now, getting towards summer, and there is something that if you have a roof over your head and you're lucky enough to do that, there's something we all do during spring. Spring clean, right? We decided to clean all the stuff up from the attic, from the basement, from all around the house. And during that process, there's something that always happened and always stopped the whole process, which is to find old photos of us. And we find those photos and like, oh my God, look at the hair from the 80s, or look at, oh my God, I lost a lot of weight. And the question comes up and is, who is that person? We tend to think that that person is not us anymore, but that person is still there. That person hasn't disappeared. Psychology shows that we are not a singular, monolithic individual that goes from A to B. We're just a combination of stories that shape who we are and how we are and how we act in different situations. So, this is the story of the many me's. The fact that we're not a single individual, we are a collection of all of the past people that we've been. And I'm going to try to tell you that story through some of my own stories. When I was a baby, when I was a little kid, the main thing that I wanted to do was to be loved. And not because my family didn't love me. I mean, my family was pretty cool. I felt love all the time. But I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be liked. I grew up in the 80s, so TV was my main parent, right? Like I will sit down on TV for hours and just like look at all these people being loved on TV. There was one kind that especially took my attention, which was the comedians, right? They're making people laugh, making people happy. So I wanted to do that. School didn't like that. The school wasn't very keen into me being the class clown, but it was my way to belong. Because psychology shows you that belonging is not it's not something emotional. It's actually something social. When we don't feel belonging, we have to adapt and we find our spot. And in my case, the class clown. Time passed, and my parents managed to have enough money to send me to a private Christian school. Something I noticed as soon as I got there is that most kids in the private Christian school were very white. I'm not very white. Kids notice those things, and kids sometimes they're not very nice about those things. I needed to create something to protect me. And I grabbed that little hint of like, I can bring humor into the mix. And again, my personality and my me thinking of the laugh brought to me that I'm the class clown now, because when people are laughing, they're not judging. They're not judging where I came from or the color of my skin. That sort of switch, it didn't really make me weaker or fake. It just helped me to survive an environment that I wasn't ready to be on. But that me was based on the previous me. It was not a new person. It was still me trying to protect myself. Years passed, quite a few years after that. I was lucky enough to achieve one of the goals of my life coming from Chile. I got a job in the US. I moved to America and legally. I maybe I stayed not legally a little bit longer, but I got there and I got a job in Disney World, and that was a dream come through. Right? I got to meet all these people, and at that time, on the 90s, early 2000s, being a Latino was cool. People wanted to hang out with you. It's just like they really were like, "Oh my God, show me some salsa." I don't dance salsa. I'm from Chile. We don't do those things, but it was cool, and I get to hang out with people, and people wanted to have a drink with you. I had a couple of girlfriends. God. And it was amazing. And for a moment, I felt, is this me? This is the me that maybe I was meant to be, the me that I really can thrive. And for moments, I felt that I was being someone else because we learned that we don't act the same with our parents or with our friends. I mean, obviously, you're not going to, definitely your parents, the same way you act with your friends. So that belonging came back again to sort of make me feel, okay, well, who am I? You get that question, you get that issue of like, am I being me? And if I have to base some of this into psychology, which I hate, but I have to, psychology shows that we feel that we are wearing this masks, and we feel that we do that. And we don't feel comfortable with them because we feel like, oh my God, I'm not being myself. But Carl Jung called these personas. So let's put those masks away and call them personas because it sounds more psychologist. And these personas are not there to fake someone you're not. They're there to protect you. They're there to help you adapt. Because that adaptation to different contexts and different situations is what is keeping you around thriving, around alive. Thinking of those three me's in the past, of different me came when I became a father. You're a father, you know that this changes a lot. And the first feeling I got, it was really back in touch with the 15-year-old me, thinking like, I'm a 15-year-old dad, even though I was 30. I feel like, what do I do? I'm a kid. I was not. Should I show them how to play Xbox? Should I show them? I don't know what to do as a dad. So the way to connect to my kids was to sort of not knowing what to do. At this point, it was sort of the first me that didn't have to adapt to anything. It was a me that just wanted to be there, wanted to be present. He wanted to hang out with my kids. That came with an adaptation a bit later. Something that, as a father, you do, regardless of how you think of yourself, you are strong, right? You show your kids that you are father. When and my mother died. I didn't want to ruin the mood. My mother died a few years ago. I was living in Poland at the time. She was in Chile. This was the most bizarre thing in my life. I attended the funeral over a Zoom call. Crazy. I'm literally sitting in front of my computer, looking at a coffin, seeing family passing by in front of the camera and saying, like, is that Marcus? Is that live? Marcus, we're very sorry. Can you hear me now? Can I share my screen? I'm like, no, I can see you. I can feel. I feel everything. It's fine. I cried. Obviously, it's my mother. I love that woman, and my kids got to see daddy crying, which it didn't happen that often. But then I became something else too for them. This is a me that allows them to be themselves, to allows them to remove any cover and do what you need to do with your feelings. So throughout these little quick stories, I didn't really change. Every me complemented each other, themselves throughout my stories, throughout my life. And when we move into that area of like trying to understand yourself, and Raphael mentioned it too, is that way to accept certain things. Carl Rogers is the one that puts it in a very nice way. He says, real change doesn't come from rejecting yourself, your past self. Real change comes from accepting who you are. And when you stop and look at yourself and every other self that becomes you, it's a relief. It's a relief that you feel. Now, when I was preparing this talk, my wife asked me, so who is the me that is doing this talk? Well, it is the kids who's scared as hell of being in a room like this. It is the guy who wants to belong and make you laugh with a couple of jokes. It's the guy who went to the vintage store to get a jacket that you can remember and say, I like the talk of the funny jacket guy. All of those me's are here, are present. And because of this is a TED talk, I need to give you something to take home. And I know you're going to do this because it's one of those things that we all do somehow. When you get home, look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror and look at the little kid you. Look at the teenager you. Look at the one who freaks out the bad traffic. Look at the one who takes every popanza in the supermarket. Look at all of them and say, thank you for getting me here. And with that, thank you for listening.
Wow.